Okay, so this short video is going to be on a topic that probably most business owners don't want to quite hear. And this has to deal with the issue that pretty much all of us can be tempted to run into, and that is this whole idea of pride. There's actually several different parts when we talk about pride that can actually lead to some problems. There's about 7 of them. We're going to go through 7 slides during this video to kind of show where it could be a potential trip up for you, or for me, for anybody for that matter, and what to just be on the lookout for, because that's what it really comes down to. It's just being self-aware, and if you can do that, I think you're going to keep yourself from slipping into some real problems. So let's start with the first one here. I call it just latching on to glory days. Probably remember that song by Bruce Springsteen back in the 80s. It was called Glory Days. It was a song about people who had a success at some point early on in their life, and then that was kind of it. It was kind of like a flash in the pan. And that's just kind of what they always harken back to as the good old days, back when they were somebody. And now time has gone on, and, well, time has gone on, and they haven't really adapted and moved forward with it. So this idea can permeate into our businesses. We have this idea like, hey, I've made it. So, I've made it, so therefore I don't need to keep at it. I don't need to keep working at it because, hey, I've already achieved. You might say, like, my previous success proves that my future success will be assured. But I think we all kind of know logically that's not the case, but yet we may feel that way. We may feel like, oh, well, now I have a golden touch. Whatever I do, turns to gold. And you start thinking, you know what, I don't need to take time to think. And you're like, why do I need to think? I'm just going to shoot from the hip. And it's better to just kind of follow the sequence of ready, fire, aim, which sounds great, all cavalier, but, not taking the time to think through stuff can be a problem. And some say, well, I don't want to be stuck in this analysis paralysis kind of thing. I just want to move. There's something to be said for moving forward. But if you're just thinking, hey, I'm the hot shot and I know what's going on, and you keep moving forward, you're going to eventually run, over the cliff. And again, besides, you're smarter than most people, so whatever you do, again, feels like you got the Midas golden touch. So latching on to glory days can be a problem. All right, let's move on to the next one. It's either my way or, and that is the only way. Some people are so self-assured, which is a good quality, confidence, self-assurance, but taken too far, it can be a problem. Other people's ideas you may start to look at as being inferior to my thoughts, and therefore it's not worthy of my attention. And therefore you just kind of refuse to listen to other people. If someone else does have a better idea, gosh, that might make you secretly feel a little bit less than the legend you believe yourself to be in your own mind. And sometimes you just say, okay, well, enough with all this. I just need to be me. Well, and everyone else just needs to, accept your flaws and stuff. They just need to accept who you are. And you just think it'd just be easier if everyone else could just adapt to me. Well, you can see how that could be a problem if that's kind of your thing. You just have this fear like it's all just about you. There's a famous saying I heard from a coach of mine from a long time ago, and he says, when it comes to this whole idea of leadership, it's not about you, but it does start with you. And so what that means is you have to kind of get a handle on some of these things regarding how you conduct yourself as a leader. Here's another one. You can isolate yourself from others. You say, why do I need to go spend time with those inferior people, whoever those inferior ones are? Start thinking, well, I'm the head honcho, and I've earned the right to sit in my office and not have to spend my mental energy on others. Plus, you start thinking, well, my detachment kind of adds to my perception of power and keeps, my detractors away. You're kind of up on this ivory tower that you've placed yourself on, thinking you don't need to mix with the riffraff. That is also going to be a surefire way of stumbling, because actually, if you're a leader means you lead people. And if you start detaching yourself from your people, well, that could be a big, big problem, obviously. How about the next one here? It's not my fault. Any failure at all that happens, always looking to place blame somewhere else. Anybody besides me, it has to be something or somebody else that was the source of the failure. And, if you say, well, if I accept responsibility, well, then you start thinking that's going to damage my ego. Of course, you would never say that, but you would maybe feel that. And then you think that, well, my admission of, it being my fault may lead to giving up some of my power to someone else who's maybe playing the game better than I am. Sometimes you just have to realize you lost or you failed, and it's just, you're not stuck. It's not like you're forever going to be labeled a failure, but moving forward is going to have to come to grips with reality that you were part of the problem. And when it's clearly your fault, you still maybe regret, you have a failure to express regret. Instead, you just keep offering up excuses. Again, not somebody else. Okay, well, maybe I had a small part to do with it, but really quick to spend a lot more time trying to justify how you were and all the other obstacles that got in the way. Again, this isn't really taking on what it is that you played as far as a part in it. And as a leader, it always comes back to you. In the end, it is your fault, if you will. How about this one? A pathological need to win. It's one thing to be competitive. It's one thing to want to win. That should be a part of what every leader should do. But again, these are all things that, if taken to the extreme, can be a problem. This is one of those things, you look out for these people. If you say, well, I can't resist adding my own 2 cents to every idea. Someone has to say something. They can't just let that person have their thought, their comment. They have to go ahead and add their own 2 cents to it. They're always tacking on, always kind of doing it in one-upsmanship. Or there might be a negative Nelly about other people's ideas. They always start with their comments or opinions about something negative. They always start, well, no, that won't work because, or, well, but, or however, all these qualifier type words that kind of detract from the other person's idea. And they'll go on to explain why somebody else's idea is not a good idea. They will also want to maybe deflect by bragging about their own achievements. Or even worse, they almost kind of sabotage a situation by withholding information, because they can withhold information, kind of letting other people fail. Again, this is their pathological need to win. They think this is a tactic on how they're going to win. And then how about this one? Talking, about others. This is kind of like, the whole thing about gossiping or judging others, making someone else feel making them somehow less than myself. When you go judge other people and you talk about them, talk bad about them, well, obviously you're just, maybe by comparison, elevating yourself by lowering them. Doesn't really kind of work. It's not really the way a good leader would work. You make sharp, sarcastic comments about others, putting down others, and just kind of needlessly poking fun at them. Just remember, those kinds of things sting, and people don't forget that kind of thing. And then I think the last one here is on pride, is not giving proper recognition. This kind of dovetails from the last one. Too proud to tell anyone else that they did well. If they did a good thing, you can't give them praise. That would be kind of a weird thing if you're a leader, if you can't give someone else proper recognition. Even if it is a competitor, being able to look at them and say, you know what, they did pretty good. It's okay to give someone else recognition without raining on their parade, so to speak. And being stingy isn't a good way to create value for compliments. Instead, be generous. This idea, what I mean by that is, if you kind of say, well, I'm going to give out compliments just if someone's really, really earned it, then I'll give them a compliment. Instead, be more generous with them. Give them out. It doesn't somehow dilute the quality or the impact of your compliment if you give them out freely. This idea that you're going to hold back and just give them out, again, when someone kind of reaches your level of approval, is not going to really garner a lot of favoritism amongst your people that are trying to lead. Of course, the worst thing you can do is steal someone's credit or steal someone's idea and taking credit for it. Or if you are, of course, being a leader, playing favorites and giving credit just to those yes men or suck-ups around you. That's just going to be surrounding yourself with a bunch of fools, and you won't ever really get good information. So this isn't really a great or more topic to talk about. It's not very popular, but it's one of those defensive moves that if you're self-aware as a leader, if you're humble enough to know that you need to be self-aware, you can kind of keep in the back of your mind these different kinds of things so that if you start going down this road, you'll know how to stop it. And if you have other people that are in leadership positions around you, keep an eye out if they start going down any one of these paths that you know isn't going to lead to ultimate success. All right, so that's it for this video. We're going to have more cheerful videos coming up soon. All right, take care.